Hello, everybody, and welcome to MFSN's weekly NFL and fantasy football show. My name is Casey Scheinveld. I'll be your host today. I am joined this week again by somebody you probably know from his experience on SiriusXM, as well as his Covino and Rich podcast on the Patreon network. Rich Davis.
That's right, yeah.
As well as
I like that name better.
I'll be Rich Covino when we finally get married.
There you go. That'll work. As well as MFSN.
And it's legal now in California, Rich. So Congratulations.
Is it? That's great. Very owned Ross the Boss.
It's legal. Hi, everybody. I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy football and NFL football with you, cowboy.
Well, Ross, I know you're pretty fired up about Hard Knocks. We had our second episode on this week on HBO or HBO Max. I'm sure you watched it. Why don't you tell me what your thoughts are?
So I'll just give a brief description. DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously he's the captain of the defense. He had a photo shoot on the beach in California with his family. Very beautiful family. Looks like a nice guy. He did have a good quote where he said, if I don't make somebody pee their pants on the offense because they're nervous, I'm not doing my job. So he must talk a lot of trash during the game. I mean, and also the Cowboys have a British guy,
defensive line
coach.
Yeah.
And his name is Aiden Denude. I hope I said it. But Aiden has this British. I hope I said it. I have no idea. But he has this really thick British accent. He's a defensive line coach. He has experience playing football. He played in Europe, and so one of the players that plays on the team, a backman, actually was making fun of him and did the accent perfectly. And it was very funny to watch. He did the impression, and the coach actually caught him doing the impression behind his back, which was a great moment. Another thing is they played the Rams in like a practice type game at the practice field. And you saw a lot of intense hitting. A lot of players were not happy. They were angry. They were in the heat. You could see the all-world defenseman Donald was actually got in a fight with another player. So it was a crazy practice. And then they played the Cardinals in a practice game, preseason game, and that game, Prescott and Elliott did not play. And I felt, if you watched it twice like I did, I kind of felt. I'm not saying he was stoned, but he talked about eating hot dogs at halftime. He was eating those shells like those sunflower seeds like they were nothing. I thought Elliott was stoned. I mean, I don't know what you guys thought, but I really thought he was stoned. And they did have some good stories. They talked about this one kid, Kamari, who came from the Ivory Coast, who fled and came to the United States. And he actually got a scholarship to University of Kansas. He was on the practice squad last year for the Cowboys, and he's trying to make the team. And his whole family showed up to the preseason game because they live in Arizona. And you saw his mom in the Ivory Coast garb, and you saw his sister and his nephews, and it was a sweet story. And I hope the kid makes the team. He's undersized. I don't know if he will, but I'm rooting for him. He's somebody that during the season you want to root for this kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's one of those stories the heartfelt story, but I love that show. I just keep it up. I love seeing behind the scenes stuff. And again, I recommend the show to both you guys.
So I guess
a couple things, Ross, number one, if peeing in your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis. What movie is that? Come on. Billy Madison. You know that.
I knew that.
And your kids are probably too old by now for Peppa Pig, but I hate British accents. Oh. So I can't follow direction, or I hate the British accent. It drives me insane. I could never date a woman.
The funny thing, Rich, is, I mean, he has a full British accent, and he's telling these American football players what to do during practice, and it's kind of like surreal. I was like watching these players, and they're taking direction, but it's just something's out of place. I don't know what it is, but obviously, and of course they show Prescott throwing the ball again, and Ben DiNucci, they previewed him a lot. They showed him throwing the ball a lot and running around, and he had a scoring drive at the end of the game against the Cardinals to tie it up, but they ended up losing. In the last second, they kicked a field goal. The Cardinals
ended up tying it in the last second. It gave them a 3-point lead. But I think that's probably the most relevant thing going on right now. Rich? I'll ask you. What are your thoughts on Dak Prescott and whether he makes it back for Week 1 and what that means for the Cowboys either way?
Well, first of all, you said accents, Ross. We learned from Jack Morris this week. Don't do any accents. Just don't do accents.
Yeah, tell the audience what Jack Morris did real quick.
Bad idea. He did an Asian accent when
and
Ohtani was coming up. And so I think even if it's a British accent, I'm going to be very careful moving forward. No accents from this guy. Secondly, Dak Prescott, do you have the schedule in front of you? What does the first couple of weeks look for the Cowboys? Because
Casey,
I'll bring it up while you're talking.
Casey, look that up. I mean, Dak is, everybody forgets that he had an ankle injury last year. They're not even talking about that. And it wasn't like a sprain. I mean, the foot was like turned 180 degrees. I mean, it was horrible to look at. So no one's even talking about his ankle anymore. I mean, I don't think he'll be in a game until regular season. I don't think he'll get a hit. I don't think anybody's going to hit him until the regular season.
Well, then his first two games are the Bucks and the Chargers. So that's a pretty tough start.
Yeah, I think I'm not in favor of bringing back a player for a tough game one. I know Dak's getting paid a ton of money and he's a superstar, but it's almost like if a pitcher comes off the DL, do you start him against the Dodgers or like the Giants, or do you want to play him against the Marlins? Like I feel like you want to soft launch Dak, not Dax, that's your brother. Dak.
We're getting all the names right today, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I say no. I say
no. I say yes. I say he'll be out there. He wants to play. I mean, he wants to be out there. I mean, he's a guy that he's a tough guy. I mean, he's not a soft guy.
A confidence booster or a confidence killer if they compete with the Bucks or get whooped. So I think that, you know what, they'll play him because Dak will want to play. So
yeah, and
I think he goes week one.
You know, I love the kind of portrayal of the Cowboys that Hard Knocks is doing, and I wonder how much Jerry Jones controls that, because they make Ben DiNucci look like he's an absolute stud in waiting. You know, if you watch all the drills they're showing him doing, they have him playing chess and beating guys in chess. Always like, I'm always thinking one step ahead of you. Maybe he is that great, but you can tell Jerry Jones's fingers are all over that production.
We saw him and Gilbert playing preseason, and they were not good. They're good backups. They're not going to win you any games as starters. We all know that.
So if Ben DiNucci has to go, I mean, looking at it from a fantasy perspective, obviously Dak Prescott's value is crushed by him not playing, but I think it hurts a lot since we're trying to tie this into fantasy. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, even Zeke Elliott to some extent, because they're not going to be as worried about the air attack. So it does have a lot of ripple effect on the rest of the Cowboys team if Dak is not healthy.
I'm not saying there's such thing as a throwaway game in the NFL because there's only 17.
Right.
But I mean, when you play the Bucks week one and probably you start 0-1, I still think Dak goes out there. But let me ask you guys, at the end of the day, let's fast forward to the end of the season. That one extra game, does 10-7 now become that's a playoff record, or is it now 11-6? Like, that one extra game puts a little wrinkle in like our whole mindset of what's a good record and what makes the playoffs.
In the NFC, yes, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I don't think it makes a difference.
I think you got to win 12 games in the AFC to go to the playoffs.
I don't think it makes a difference in the NFC East because, and that's the advantage that the Cowboys have. Obviously, I'm a Giants fan, but I don't expect them to be a super competitive team this year. You can't expect. I mean, the Eagles are throwing Jalen Hurts out there. He's, people are excited about him, but do you really trust him to lead a division leader? And the the Washington football team.
You said Redskin.
I didn't finish the word. It doesn't count. It's kind of like Beetlejuice. They're sending Fitzmagic out there, who we all kind of like, and he's the Harvard-educated guy with a beautiful beard. But
great beard.
Whether or not that can run the division, I don't think it hurts Dallas's chance of making the playoffs. But if they're looking for home field advantage, one of the tiebreakers is going to be your head-to-head record, and the Bucs are clearly going to be one of those teams who are also looking at home field advantage come the end of the season. So I don't know if it's a throwaway game, truly I think it is for a playoffs perspective, but not for a home field perspective.
Yeah.
So, all right. Speaking of the New York Giants owner John Mara made the news this week. I know, Ross, you were excited about it. What is his stance on taunting?
So there's only one person in the whole NFL, seriously, that wants taunting to go away. Taunting is when you see the celebrations in the end zone. Guys, NFL is entertainment. It's the entertainment business. We know that what it is. it's a sport, but it's entertainment. These guys have fun doing these little TD dances. They rehearse it. They're fun to watch. It makes the fans excited. We have one bad apple, one guy in New York, the owner of the Giants, that says, you know what, I don't want this anymore. So now it's a penalty. Now, if you do it more than once in a game, you're thrown out of the game. I'm totally against what this owner's doing. I'm so upset. I don't know what you guys think.
I'll tell you what I think. I think we have to accommodate the youth, because that is who in everything we do, right? Like, what these kids are 20. We forget sometimes, like, the people playing in the NFL, in the NBA, in the major leagues, in NHL, every major sport, they're 20-something-year-old kids. They're on TikTok. They're dancing. They're having fun. I love bat flips. I love fights. I love everything that brings entertainment to sports. When the NFL banned doing these dances, what do people say? NFL, no fun league. You want this fun. This is what makes the NFL the number one sport. People like this. You know what? Why is baseball considered old and stale? Because it's not really that fun, and it's long and old and boring. And when people fight and flip bats, that's when you actually show an interest in baseball. So I'm for the dramatics. I'm for the drama. Consider me a teenage girl. I want to see dances. I want to see TikTok moves. I want to see choreographed dances for every touchdown.
So what I've learned from Rich Davis today is that he's a teenage girl who's the Miles Davis of peeing his pants. But
correct.
So that's great. No, I agree with you entirely, because why would a 70-plus-year-old owner, kind of conservative male owner, be able to dictate what appeals or what will sell the league? I mean, we already have our demographic hooked on the NFL. We want to get the younger generation to watch. And if we take away all of the kind of fun and energetic and fire from the game, I don't think we actually lose viewers that way. The same way with baseball is, if we're trying to appeal to the younger generation to keep baseball going, because it is long and slow. The Javi Baezes who flip the bats and are all acrobatic and demonstrative, Francisco Lindor, those types of players are the ones we all want to see. They're the ones who bring the fun to the game. It's not a middle-aged man's league. We want to make it for the next generation. And the same with, I think in basketball, you should be allowed to hang on the rim and do the celebrations where you slap the backboard and do all that stuff. But that's a penalty too. That's a foul or a technical.
And so, remember, Tyreek Hill's going to have, he's going to have penalties during the season, and a lot of them, because he loves to celebrate. Tyreek Hill, I guarantee he'll be the first player to get a flag taunting.
You think he could beat Bolt in a race, by the way?
Well, it's going to be 70 yards straight. Yeah. There's no patterns. No. He'll get smoked by Bolt. If it was like football pads or they're wearing a helmet or something different, I think Bolt would have a problem. But if they're going to 70 yards straight, he has no chance.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how old Usain Bolt is and whether he's still training. So it could be interesting. He certainly has a longer stride than Tyreek Hill does, going on their height. I think the Kansas City offense, remember the old like Madden video games where one of the pass plays was all streaks? Yep. They could do that and send all 5 of their pass catchers in a straight pattern, and they would win the race down the field no matter what. They could throw like a Hail Mary every time. I want to transition to the old man quarterback segment of this episode, because we have 44-year-old Tom Brady, 39-year-old Ben Roethlisberger, 37-year-old Aaron Rodgers, 36-year-old Matt Ryan. We have a lot of aged veterans leading these franchises.
Tom Brady?
I said 44-year-old. Yeah, I think so.
I didn't think you said it. Okay.
Born in
August. Brady. I don't think people question
77.
Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady's questioned on the field. I think people now are questioning whether or not he had Botox. That's the big Tom Brady question. It's like, is something going on with his face? Because
he had cosmetics. He didn't do any performance-enhancing drugs. He did cosmetic-enhancing things. So
they tested Brady. He's fine, but he got fillers.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, at what point Tom Brady blows the cliff theory out of the water? Roethlisberger, we think, kind of fell off a cliff a couple years ago. What about Aaron Rodgers? What about these other guys?
Well, Aaron Rodgers won the MVP last year. I think he'll have another MVP season this year. He'll be in the running. I guarantee that. Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know if you guys are watching these Steelers games. I did. He missed a lot of passes. His age is showing. and his offensive line last year was awful, and they're going to be worse this year. So, Ben, I hope you can throw that ball quick, because you're not going to have much time back there, and you can't run either. So you're in deep trouble this year, Ben Roethlisberger. So that being said, I hope if you draft Ben Roethlisberger in your fantasy, you better undraft him right now, because he's not going to have a good season. Tom Brady. Every time you bet against the guy, I never was a fan of Tom Brady, but I'll tell you one thing about Tom Brady: he is the GOAT, and he is the best quarterback to ever play the game, and that's coming from me. And I was never a fan of Tom Brady. And I mean, age at quarterback. I mean, these guys stay in unbelievable shape. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is the exception; he does not stay in shape. I mean,
hey, by the way, I mean, well, listen. The minute I turned 40, I thought that 40 is the new 30, because I'm 40 now, but. Tom Brady's an exception. It's like Jennifer Lopez. 52-year-olds don't look like that in a bikini, but Jennifer Lopez does. 44-year-olds or 43 or 45, or however old Brady is, that's not normal. Big Ben is old. He's freaking old. It is what it is. However, he is trying to adjust. I don't know if you were reading up on how Big Ben is going to take more snaps from under center opposed to the shotgun, which is more deceptive to a defense. So they are trying to make some adjustments in Pittsburgh to try to mix it up a little more, because maybe they were getting a little predictable. I don't know.
And what about Matt Ryan? The last 3 years, to do from a fantasy perspective, his points per game in fantasy has gone down 3 years in a row. What is this the year where, like, somebody, if you own Calvin Ridley, who's routinely picked as a top 10 wide receiver, I mean, how much does Matt Ryan affect that? Does Kyle Pitts lose value because Matt Ryan's under center?
I mean, I don't think Matt Ryan's at that place quite yet, but I really thought Atlanta was going to draft a quarterback. I don't know why they still on the bandwagon with Matt Ryan. He's not in the downfall of his career. You just told me 3 years in a row his numbers going down. So with Matt Ryan, I don't know how he still has a job in the NFL. It's surprising to me, but he must know somebody. I mean, I don't. It's a big question mark.
Let me tell you, Russ, when they didn't draft a quarterback, I was also surprised. And I was also surprised. I was so happy as a 49ers fan. There was rumors. You remember the rumors that, the 49ers might try to get Matt Ryan? Thank the heavens they did not. They went opposite direction. They went like old white guy pocket passer, but instead got Trey Lance. I'm happy. I don't know how. I think, I'll tell you right now, 17 games, 5-12. I think Atlanta's stinky. They stink.
I mean, Mike Davis is their starting running back. He's good, but he's not going to win you any games. He's decent. And then they lost like their franchise receiver in Jones. He went to Tennessee, but he's been hurt every year.
And Calvin Ridley tore up the field when Jones was not in the lineup.
Really, so I like Gage. I like Russell Gage too. I think he's solid. I just feel Atlanta is just their quarterback position is their downfall. I wish they drafted a quarterback. I don't know why they didn't. I don't get it.
Can somebody explain to me Andy Dalton's comment? It's my time to shine. Wasn't this guy already the starter in Cincinnati for like 7 years?
I saw this. I'm a huge Bengal fan, and Dalton was a quarterback for many years. His record in the playoffs was 0-8, just so you know. And Monday night it was like 0-20. It was like something crazy. So Dalton did a press conference, and remember, Bears fans like Justin Fields. They want him to start. So what he said, Dalton said, it's my time. It's talking about himself. My time to shine. Exact words, my time to shine. He said that in a press conference. And you're talking about an aging quarterback that's had mediocre stats the past few years, and they drafted a guy in the first round in Justin Fields that had a great preseason game. I know he's playing against second stringers, Rich Davis. I know that. But what I'm saying is this. You don't say that in a press conference. You don't say it's my time to shine. No, it's not your time to shine. It's Justin Fields' time to shine. You're supposed to be retired by now, Andy Dalton.
The Red Rocket.
No one wants Andy Dalton on their team. In fact, actually, no one wants Andy Dalton starting. He's actually a pretty solid backup. If you told me your backup quarterback was Andy Dalton, actually, I think that's perfect. I think he's probably the perfect backup quarterback. Your guy gets hurt, veteran guy could hold the course possibly. But the only thing that's cool about Andy Dalton in Chicago is that his hair matches the C on the helmet. That's the only thing that's cool. Like his red hair, actually, that orange, disgusting. I'm not a fan of gingers. Sorry. Go on.
Great. Now we have all the gingers ready.
Right. They have no soul. By the way,
it's so surprising to me that Dalton would say that. He should know better.
By the way, Wichita Films thinks that 7-10 is going to win the NFC East this year. So he doesn't predict big things for anybody in the NFC East. Didn't I think 8-8 won it last year or something ridiculous like that, or 7-9. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, particularly if the injury to Prescott is significant. All right, let's move to a younger quarterback who might even play less, and that's DeShaun Watson. From what I understand, there have been 23 separate allegations, and 22 of them are still open. What are the chances he sees the field this year?
Ooh, well, listen, never to make light of sexual allegations. I think the better question might be, who sees the field first in either sport? Trevor Bauer or Deshaun Watson, or these rich guys with so much talent making terrible personal decisions, and they're letting their let's be honest, they're letting their penis be their guide. Like, yo, keep it in your pantalones. Go take care of yourself alone.
Right.
I don't get it. I mean,
I don't get it either. I mean, again, I want to hear his side of the story. We won't hear that side until February when his deposition happens.
Yeah, but you know what, Russ? We live in a world now.
But I mean,
we live in a world now where the court of public opinion wins.
I mean, obviously there's a pattern. He likes to get massages. He likes to hit on the girls that give him massages. I don't know, if you want to have sex with a girl and pay for it, hire a prostitute. That's what
we're not encouraging prostitution here at MFSN. Please accept that disclaimer. At no point, because in any state where we are filming, it is illegal.
It's not true. No. In Vegas, you can just.
We're not filming in Vegas. We're not filming in Vegas.
However, fine. I mean, every guys that, let's be honest, the average guy would be lying if they said they or someone they know hasn't ever got a happy ending massage. Listen, it's the reality. But when you're Deshaun Watson or Trevor Bauer's a different story. That's not a happy ending. That's
nothing disgusting. Happy about that ending.
Yeah, that's disgusting. But, these guys put themselves in dumb positions, and it's fascinating to me how.
And he just signed he signed a huge contract. I mean, he just signed a multi-million-dollar contract, almost like it's like I just don't like a Pat Mahomes contract he signed, and I just don't understand why he puts himself in position. His lawyer now is under FBI investigation for extortion. I mean, this is serious stuff. This isn't like
this
isn't behavior. Steve Covino going to the massage parlor right now.
No, Rich Covino. That's Rich Covino. That's his cousin.
Steve Covino, his partner in crime. He's single. He's not married like Rich and I are. Sorry, ladies. But what I'm saying is this. Covino is an expert at those places, and he never gets caught.
Don't worry, Ross. I don't take offense to not being included in that at all.
You're married too.
Right.
I will say it is interesting that when you're an organization, on a serious note, when you're an organization and you put your faith and your money and everything in guys to be franchise guys for you, I mean, honestly, it sounds silly, but it's not on that questionnaire. Like, yo, does this guy have control of his what's in his pants? And that's not really thought of. Many politicians, celebrities, athletes, this gets the better of them. And we shouldn't really act surprised because guys are dumb, right? And we got to be better. But I don't think you're going to see Deshaun Watson play anytime soon. The same way you're not going to see Trevor Bauer pitching in the playoffs. It is what it is.
By the way, Ross, Wichita Film says
sad too, because we're missing two great athletes actually, just because of their personal life. They can't control themselves.
Wichita Film says that Trevor Bauer plays next year for the Pelican Bay Pens. So that's where he's going with that. So recently, your San Francisco 49ers, Rich, just waived Josh Rosen. I think he's been waived by his fourth team now in his 5 years in the NFL or whatever it is. He was the number 10 overall pick. This guy, I remember when he was coming out with Sam Darnold, some were arguing that Josh Rosen was more of a prototypical NFL quarterback. What is your take on Josh Rosen?
A couple things. Number one, I feel like raw deal. I'm not saying he has this talent that should be showcased in the NFL. But when he got drafted, if you remember, everywhere this dude has went, he's been replaced. He really hasn't gotten a fair shot. If anyone's had bad luck, Arizona, Miami, San Francisco, everywhere he's gone. So he goes to to Arizona. They get Kyler Murray. He goes to Miami. They get Tua. Oh, the 49ers might take a chance. They get Trey Lance. Like, he's constantly being like, it's almost like he's at the bar and the guy keeps choosing the prettier girl than him.
He's he and Tyrod Taylor can share a drink over that sort of thing. Wasn't Taylor in Buffalo when Josh Allen was taken? Then he went to Cleveland when Baker Mayfield. Then he went to San Diego and had a lacerated something or other. And all of a sudden,
he got a shot from the trainer, and the trainer did the wrong shot or put it in the wrong
him or
place.
something. And all of a sudden, Justin Herbert's taking his. They all got Wally Pitt.
And all of a sudden, Herbert has the starting job. One week in the NFL, and he's starting. It's unbelievable.
But to answer your question, though, I think the 49ers oddly made a weird move here, and I'll tell you why. Because they have Garoppolo and Trey Lance. I feel like the consensus is eventually they're going to deal Garoppolo, right? Like the whole hope is if you've noticed the 49ers organization, John Lynch, Shanahan, they're making it seem like Jimmy Garoppolo is better than ever. In fact, we've never seen him play better. They're trying to get this value up. They're pretty much telling the rest of the NFL, don't try to lowball us for Jimmy Garoppolo because someone's going to need a quarterback, and the 49ers have a Garoppolo sitting there. I'm surprised that they don't keep Josh Rosen.
Garoppolo sounds like a name that would do well in New York.
Yeah, you know what? It's like that funny meme where it said Brian Cashman got on the phone. He's like, "Yo, you guys have some Italians? Gallo,
give me Rizzo and Gallo."
Yeah. So
Rizzo's coming back today.
I know, but don't you think that though? Where like the 49ers, you can't assume that all year long. I'd be surprised if Garoppolo and Trey Lance are on that roster all year long. I mean, the 49ers will deal Garoppolo at some point. Why would they not, right? So you would think Rosen would have been a good backup.
I mean, I think Rosen now, his play right now, he has to get a place where he can play quarterback, and that's at the bench.
XFL.
I think the CFL. In all seriousness,
he and Josh Rosen can battle each other out.
I think he should go to the Canadian Football League. He has enough money. He made a lot of money in the NFL. It's not like he needs the money, but he needs a place to showcase, and the CFL is a perfect place for him. And if he was smart, he would go there right now because the weather's not that bad and play for some team like Hamilton, Ontario, Montreal, Toronto, one of those teams, and he could show off his skills because I think he's not playing. He's not showcasing anything right now.
Mm-hmm.
How would you like to be somebody who drafted in the last 2 days and took Mark Andrews in Baltimore?
Well, Mark Andrews, I told you earlier, he's today in practice, and I didn't know he was a diabetic. I had no idea. But he actually fainted in practice today.
He collapsed on the field.
He's okay. They gave him an IV. I think it was the humidity in Baltimore is horrible, guys. The weather back east,
I can vouch for that being an hour and a half north of there.
Miami's weather until October is horrendous. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever been to Miami in October. In August or September. It's horrible. You can barely move. And it's in Mark Andrews' collapse. He'll be fine. I think he'll play week 1. I just think he had he probably didn't drink enough water or whatever it is. But the other story in practice today is Antonio Brown had a Steve Smith episode in practice where he got in a huge fight with one of his players. And he took his helmet off and was swinging it, and they kicked him off the practice field. I mean, Antonio Brown, I think is one of their best receivers, obviously. So people are kind of, I don't know if it's because of what's going on with COVID or anything else, but people are not acting rational right now. It's kind of a crazy world, as we all can testify.
All right.
Are you surprised that Antonio Brown acted a fool a little bit?
No,
you're surprised by that?
Does that shock you?
The answer to another question.
No,
I got to know another question, Ross. You were talking about Baltimore. Ross, are you the type of guy that likes to go to like a crab house and work for your meat, or is that too much work for you? Do you ever get the crabs all poured on the table and you have to do all the cracking and stuff?
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, they have that in LA too, not just Baltimore. They have those places in LA. That's fun. There's a million places like that, and I go to.
It's fun, but you gotta work. The
only problem is your hands smell like fish for like a week.
Look, I went to the University of Maryland, so I'm used to the crab experience. Shout out to Hoopers. Anybody who's from the Eastern Shore and Baltimore knows Hoopers well. It's too much work for me. Just give me the crab meat already.
Once or twice a week.
Put in a cake.
I don't know. My brother lives in Lutherville, Maryland, and he brought me
to
a place called Bricky's, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember being like, "Yo, this is great," but like I got cuts on my hands, and I worked like an hour for a little bit of crab meat.
Exactly. You're still full, and you're using the mallet 45 minutes later. It just doesn't do it for me. Rich, I want your opinion on this. 4 years ago, we would have said Carson Wentz is the next great quarterback. Now he's a reclamation project for Frank Reich in Indianapolis, his former quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator when he was doing well. What do you see for him going forward this year in Indianapolis?
I think this is a great story, and I'll tell you why. I know he's not going to be ready to go, but you said 4 years ago, and I actually wrote that down on the few little notes I have. He was 11-2. He was an MVP candidate. People were talking about Carson Wentz was the real deal. He gets hurt, and that sort of like ruins the whole career for him. And I say career for him because he was never going to live up to Nick Foles in Philadelphia. When your backup wins a Super Bowl, I don't care how good you are.
You're mythical.
Like Nick Foles became mythical, and it's like Carson Wentz was now the underachiever. He gets a fresh start, and he was not given weapons at all in Philadelphia the last year or so. I think Carson Wentz, we forget, if healthy, which doesn't seem to ever really be the case, if healthy and the right weapons and the right system, Carson Wentz could be fantastic again. But again, that's a lot of things that need to line up, health and everything. So, but I mean, think about it, the last year or so. Do you remember there was a point where you couldn't name one wide receiver on the Eagles? Like it was that bad? There was a point like last year or the year before where it was like Carson Wentz has no chance.
Well, last year, wasn't it like Fulgham or something was their top wide receiver for most of the season?
They drafted the kid from Alabama too, Williams, and he's supposed to be unbelievable. Like he's playing this week in preseason.
You mean Devonta Smith?
Devonta Smith, excuse me. Devonta Smith is playing, and I hope that Hurts gets to throw him a few passes because this kid is special. He is special, and I'm excited to watch him. And to go back to Carson Wentz, his offensive line the past couple of years has just been awful, or they've been hurt, and they've been moving players around to play different positions. He has not been having a fair chance because he has no time to throw. And I remember every week he had like one or two fumbles every game. I mean, it was like he couldn't hold on to the ball. And I think going to Indianapolis with their offensive line, and I think a change of scenery, I think he'll do pretty good this year. I don't think he's going to be the Carson Wentz of like last year. He'll be the Carson Wentz of 4 years ago. I'm being positive. I say he has a pretty good year this year.
And he's got a great running back, which always helped. And he didn't really have that in Philadelphia either. So
he actually has two good running backs.
Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. They're both pretty good. I'm rooting for him as I want one because I want to see Eagles fans regret the decision more than anything. As a Giants fan, I just want to see them suffer. But I also think like he did get kind of the raw deal in Philadelia.
And he's from like a small college, right? It's South Dakota, North Dakota
State or something.
North Dakota State or something. I mean, I love those stories of these kids like Josh Allen. Nobody
wasn't that Trey Lance? He's a small college kid, isn't he?
Trey Lance,
like he's hardly played.
I mean, and to go back to Josh Allen, he had to send his tapes out to all these recruiters. The only person that would give him a scholarship was Wyoming. And of course he went there and he tore it up and he became a first-round draft pick. But I mean, every program said no to this kid. And it just shows you determination like he knew he could play in the NFL. And he did it. I mean,
determination can only get you so far. I got to be honest. Like I was determined to play a professional sport, but you also then have to have size, genetics. Talent,
that's true.
Those things. So determination helps if you have all those other things. It just shows you that hard work coupled with the right genetic gene pool can make you accomplish almost anything. All right, we got a few minutes left, and I know you two. I like to at least include a segment for gambling and betting because I know you guys enjoy your occasional sports wager. I don't believe in betting on preseason games. I don't know if you guys do either.
No, I think there's money to be made. I won last week. I made one bet. And
wow, you do have an addiction.
I bet Baltimore. I feel Baltimore is Harbaugh wants to win every game, and he's starting his first team, and Baltimore is going to go undefeated.
So let me ask you this then.
I'll write that down.
How do the odds makers determine the line for a preseason game when you don't know who's going to be playing and how much they're going to be playing?
That's why you bet on it.
That's a dartboard throw.
That's why me and Davis, we bet on the coach. We bet on trends. We know what we're doing. We're one of the best gamblers in the country. We know what to bet and when.
You know what? It's wild because there are people that will argue that the beginning of like a college season is the easiest because the people don't have the lines figured out totally yet.
100%.
The beginning of the season might be easier for the gambler because by the end of the year, you're amazed how often Vegas has
within
it right.
a half a point.
Oh,
right?
God. It's tough.
So
this is when you make the money. This is when you make the money to spend the money in regular season. So
All right, I'll follow you, Ross. I'll bet on the Ravens. I'm with you. I'll roll with the Ross.
Harbaugh.
So Rich, what is your general strategy for deciding how to place bets or who to place bets on? What are the things you look for those of us who don't gamble that much, but now that sports books are legal in a lot of different places, are considering getting a little juice into the game?
I'm sure no real strategy other than what has changed since last year. Because let's be honest, there are teams that are just winning teams. Some teams can't escape their reputation, right? And some teams are just always going to be power teams. Like, all right, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan or you like them, it's very rare they're going to be bad, right? The Packers have been virtually a winning team since Aaron Rodgers is there. So I feel like in the beginning of the season, what I do is I bet on the power teams and I tease them down. I do teaser bets where all I need is
bets.
the power.
At the softball field,
I know.
All you tell me is teaser bets.
Yeah, this guy thinks they're sucker bets. I'm telling you, in the beginning of the season, if you have like Tampa and Green Bay both favored by like 6, 7, 8, I'll tease that down and just be like, I just need them to win. So in the beginning of the year, I do little sucker bets like teaser bets and whatnot. But yeah, no real strategy. I'm a little hesitant in the beginning of the year, but I know some people really want to take advantage. And Ross, I think it's guys like you that study a lot, try to take advantage.
I look at trends. I'm a trendsetter, as you guys all know, and I look at trends. I look at it's preseason. You look at the coach. You look at how much they want to win. Pittsburgh is like 3-0 right now in preseason because their coach wants to win, and that's another team I love betting on during the preseason. But keep going, Case.
So are you guys? Do you predominantly just pick winners, or do you do the over/under? Do you do any of the prop bets? What's kind of your your style?
I am a straight bet type of guy. Money line if I believe in the underdog enough, and teaser bets because if people think they're sucker bets, I think people think they're sucker bets when they don't know how to do them the right way. I think there's
explain to the viewer what you guys mean by teaser bets.
All right, so a teaser bet you could play with 6 points going in either direction. So let's say the Bucs are favored. Let's say the Bucs open the season versus the Cowboys, right? If the Bucs are favored by, let's say 7.5. You could say, I want the Bucs by 1.5. You're using 6 points in the direction you want. Or you could take the Cowboys as a 13.5 point underdog, depending on what direction you want to put that bet in. But I'm a big fan of the teaser bet, but most people are not. But
so do you have to bet multiple games to be offered
two games for the 6 point
to
teaser.
get even money.
So it's similar to a parlay.
You need 2 games.
Yeah, some will do it parlay. I want to make a bet. I want to see if you know. What is the over? Ross, the boss, is he a? It's a -110 on each. Is he blue cheese or ranch when he's eating his wings? I'm trying to decide.
He's blue cheese. He's blue cheese all the way.
I'm going to say blue cheese too, Ross.
You guys are both right. Blue cheese. I always get blue cheese.
See, my instinct. That's you got to go with instinct.
There's a place.
All right.
There's a place
so far on the show this season, Rich, you're undefeated. You're 1-0.
Undefeated. So. Ross, blue cheese guy. I can see it in his eyes.
Blue cheese, hot wings. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Through the sunglasses.
Yep.
All right, Ross. So how do you recommend somebody who wants to start gambling a little bit get into it? What would you recommend they do?
I don't recommend the teaser bet. That's too complicated. I look at some teams. I see if they're home or away. I see their trends. I see who's hurt. You got to look at the injury report. It's a big thing in football is injury report. If you don't look at the injury report, you don't know what you're doing and you have no idea how to gamble. And the teams that are expected to win, that's who you kind of want to ride on. You don't want to take like the Detroit Lions. You don't want to take the bad teams in the beginning because I have a feeling they're not going to do that well. But in preseason, which we're talking about, the Minnesota Vikings won their game by 30 points last week. I mean, they were playing their starters. They were playing everybody possible to win, and they won big. Like I mentioned, Baltimore, they don't like to lose any games, but preseason, they're known to win preseason games. So I'm taking them again. If there's a quarterback controversy like what's going on in New England, let's say with Newton and Jones, they're both going to play preseason. They're both going to try to impress their coach. I'm taking New England because I know that those two guys are going to get playing time, and I don't think Hurts is going to play that much. I think the Eagles play the Patriots tonight. I think the game is right, Casey.
I'm not sure. I don't follow the actual days of the games. I read the news afterwards.
Well, I believe they play tonight. I would
being honest.
I would take New England, but in preseason games, I feel that a lot of players sit out. You got to find out who's not playing. The teams will tell you who's playing and who's not during preseason.
By the way, Ross, your buddy Wichita Films is calling you out. Pittsburgh lost to Dallas to start the preseason this year.
I thought Pittsburgh was undefeated this year.
Well, you have to take that up with Wichita Films.
Well, you'll take that up with him. And
Pittsburgh's 2-1. Then they're 2-1.
Russell Boss, I'll leave everyone with one more little tip that it's an obvious one, but you asked for beginners, right?
Right.
I don't like over-unders, but if you're going to deal with over-unders, very hard to predict. The same two teams could play twice a year in division, and one game could be 20-13, and the next game could be 42-21. You never know. Over-unders, very hard to predict. But weather, look at weather, because there's a lot of times where you could get a quick sneaky bet, because if it's bad weather conditions, bet the under if it's a highly passing offense, right? I mean, because they're going to get slowed down a little bit because of the weather.
And another thing is rookie quarterbacks. The guy behind me, Trevor Lawrence, is going to be starting for Jacksonville this year. He's going to make a lot of mistakes. He's going to have a lot of interceptions. A lot of mistakes will happen. It's a good time to bet against him, because later in his career you're going to bet for him. But the rookie quarterbacks always have a struggle the first few games. It's I don't care who they are. I mean, it's a big difference between college and pro. So if Justin Fields is playing quarterback for the first game for the Bears, you bet against him. So
hey, Casey, can you
bet against him.
Can you do this one thing before we call today? Can you look up Can you look up the Jags schedule? Because the fun fact is that Trevor Lawrence has never lost a regular season game in his life, in high school, college, anywhere. So Trevor Lawrence has never lost. So when will he lose for the first time? Will it be week 1? Do you think that the Jags lose week 1? Who are they playing?
No, I think it'll be week 2.
They play Denver the second week, don't they?
Yep. Week 1, they play the Texans. Week 2, they play the Broncos. Week 3, they play the Cardinals. Week 4, they play the Bengals.
Let's be honest, that's a pretty easy schedule. I know the Jags are not good, but what I'm saying, it's not like their schedule reads Tampa,
Kansas City.
They're playing a last place schedule.
Baltimore.
What do you expect?
I know, but what I'm saying is,
so they're playing horrible teams.
Well, make you predict it. Will Trevor Lawrence lose his first game in the NFL after never losing a game in his life?
Hold on.
Okay.
He's playing. Wait, Houston's.
I wish I had a mute button. I don't have a mute button. Here's what I'm going to propose. Maybe next week, or before the regular season starts, we start one of those suicide pools where every week you have to pick a team that's going to win, and you can't pick that team again. And we'll see, because that plays into Rich's teaser theory, because you only have to pick win-lose. You don't have to pick the spread. It's just win-lose. And we'll see who does better, because you both have very different kind of approaches. But again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. To everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, click like if you liked what you heard, leave your comments below, and we'll get back to you. Wichita Films, thank you for calling Ross out on all of his blowhard. He was probably really smart before Google, but we'll work on that going forward.
I thought Pittsburgh won their first game.
Oh, you can keep arguing it. It's true, but I trust the internet. The internet doesn't lie, from what I've been told. So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. We enjoyed it. We hope you did too, and we'll see you again next week.
As a reward for making Kill Cliff the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a Coke, it's not a club, it's the Kill Cliff Coke Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to killcliff.com to get your discounts on.